Life in the spotlight may look like endless glamour, but behind the red carpets and flashing cameras lies a pain too heavy for words. For some of the world's most cherished stars, the greatest tragedy of all has been losing their own children far too soon. These heartbreaking stories reveal not only the hidden sorrow they've carried but also the incredible resilience it takes to keep moving forward. In this video, we uncover the untold struggles that shaped their lives and show you what these celebrities look like today. You'll barely recognize them. Stay with us until the end, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to honor their memories and keep their stories alive. Joe Biden's life has always been a delicate balance between triumph and tragedy. The 46th President of the United States is not just defined by decades in public service, but by heartbreaking losses that shaped the man behind the politics. Few leaders in modern history have carried such grief in full view of the world, and yet, Biden's journey stands as a testament to resilience, faith, and the unshakable power of family. In 2015, his eldest son, Beau Biden, a decorated Iraq War veteran, Delaware's Attorney General, and a man admired for his integrity, lost his battle with glioblastoma, an aggressive brain cancer. He was only 46. Beau wasn't just Joe Biden's son. He was a beacon of hope, a rising leader who embodied the values of honesty, duty, and compassion that Biden himself had always fought to uphold. His death left a wound that would never fully heal. But this was not the first time tragedy had struck. In 1972, just weeks after his first Senate victory, Biden's world was shattered. His wife Nylia and infant daughter Naomi were killed in a car accident, leaving his two young sons, Beau and Hunter, clinging to life with serious injuries. Biden nearly walked away from politics forever, choosing instead to sit by their hospital beds and raise his boys. It was in those dark days that his lifelong belief, family comes first, always, was cemented. When Beau's illness claimed him decades later, Biden once again stood at a crossroads. He could have broken under the weight of grief. Instead, he turned his sorrow into purpose. He became one of the nation's strongest advocates for cancer research, pushing forward initiatives that gave hope to families facing the same cruel battle. His mission was simple: to ensure that no parent, no child, no loved one would have to endure the same devastating loss without hope. Biden has often said that grief never truly leaves you. It becomes a constant companion, a shadow that walks beside you, reminding you not only of what you've lost, but also of the love that made that loss so profound. His story is not just one of survival, but of transformation, taking personal pain and turning it into a force for compassion and change. Through resilience and empathy, Joe Biden's life reminds us that while tragedy can shape us, it can also inspire us. His legacy is not just about politics. It's about the power of holding on, rising again, and carrying hope forward, even in the darkest of times. Would you like me to make this version more cinematic and dramatic, like a documentary voiceover, or keep it as inspiring and heartfelt, like a motivational speech? John Travolta and Kelly Preston. A love shaped by tragedy and resilience. John Travolta and Kelly Preston once stood as one of Hollywood's most beloved couples, admired not just for their glamorous red carpet appearances, but for the genuine warmth and devotion they showed as parents. Yet, behind the dazzling spotlight, their family endured heartbreaks that tested their strength in unimaginable ways. In January 2009, during what was supposed to be a joyful vacation in the Bahamas, tragedy struck. Their 16-year-old son, Jet, who had lived with autism and a history of Kawasaki syndrome, suffered a sudden seizure. In the midst of the episode, he fell and struck his head, suffering severe trauma. Despite desperate efforts by doctors, Jet passed away at the hospital. The loss was shattering. The Travoltas, who had always spoken with openness and unconditional love about their son, were left with an irreplaceable void. Kelly often described motherhood as both a challenge and a profound blessing, while John clung to his faith and the comfort of their daughter, Ella Blue. The birth of their youngest son, Benjamin, later became a source of healing light in the family's darkest hours. But heartbreak would strike again. In 2020, the family was dealt another crushing blow when Kelly Preston lost her private, 2-year battle with breast cancer. For John, it was another unthinkable loss. now mourning not only his firstborn son, but also the woman who had been his partner in love, life, and resilience. Through the grief, Travolta has chosen to honor their memories with grace and compassion. He has spoken about grief not as something that fades, but as a presence that transforms, something you carry as part of who you are. Remembering Jet has deepened his empathy for others walking through loss, while Kelly's legacy lives on in the love she poured into her family. For Travolta, their story proves a powerful truth: the bond of love does not end with death. It endures, reshaping itself into resilience, kindness, and an everlasting tribute to those who remain forever in the heart. Eric Clapton's music has always carried the weight of emotion, but in 1991, tragedy struck in a way that would forever change both the man and his art. His 4-year-old son, Connor, was staying with his mother in a high-rise apartment in New York City. In a sudden, unimaginable accident, Connor fell from the 53rd floor. The loss was devastating, beyond words, beyond reason, and it shattered Clapton to his core. Grief pushed him into isolation. Fame, fortune, and the guitar that once brought joy seemed hollow. Yet, in the silence of mourning, Clapton turned back to the only place where he could wrestle with his pain: music. From that darkness emerged Tears in Heaven, a haunting ballad written as a tribute to his son. Every lyric carried the weight of his sorrow, every note the ache of a father's broken heart. The song became not just his healing, but the world's, earning multiple Grammys and standing as one of the most moving expressions of loss ever written. Audiences didn't just hear his grief, they felt his courage in laying bare something so deeply personal. The tragedy reshaped Clapton's life. He confessed that fame meant nothing when weighed against the fragility of life. Determined to survive his grief, he recommitted to sobriety and poured himself into the relationships that truly mattered. In interviews, Clapton has often said that every time he plays, he feels Connor's presence, as though his son lives on in the music itself. Over the years, Tears in Heaven has been both a blessing and a burden. At times, the weight of performing it was too much, forcing him to retire the song, only to return to it later when his spirit felt ready. Each performance still pierces hearts, reminding us all of the universal truths of love, loss, and longing. But Clapton did more than survive. He transformed his pain into purpose, supporting recovery centers and charities to help others fight their own battles. His journey became a testament that even through unimaginable heartbreak, compassion and healing can take root. Decades later, the grief has not disappeared, but Connor's spirit endures. Through every note, through every tear-stained lyric, his memory stretches across time, touching millions. Eric Clapton's story reminds us that even the deepest sorrow can give birth to art that heals, inspires, and never fades. Sylvester Stallone, a father's unhealed heartache. In 2012, Hollywood's ultimate tough guy faced a heartbreak no amount of strength could ever protect him from: the loss of his eldest son, Sage Stallone. Sage, a talented actor and budding filmmaker who once stood beside his father in Rocky V, was found lifeless in his Los Angeles home at just 36 years old. At first, rumors swirled of substance abuse, but the truth proved far more cruel. An autopsy revealed Sage had died from coronary artery disease, the silent killer that struck without warning. The news sent shockwaves through fans and left Stallone shattered, forced to endure the unbearable reality every parent dreads: burying their own child. Stallone, usually guarded, made a rare public plea for privacy as he and his family mourned. Their relationship, though bound by love, had not always been easy, and that complexity deepened the ache of loss. Later, Stallone admitted what so many grieving parents know: this kind of pain never fully heals, it simply becomes part of who you are. Sage's death forever changed him. Determined not to take time for granted, Stallone devoted himself more deeply to his daughters, Sophia, Sistine, and Scarlett, and to his wife, Jennifer Flavin. His younger brother, Frank Stallone, became a steady source of comfort. Together, they reminded him of the fragile but precious gift of family. Professionally, Stallone pressed forward, channeling his emotions into projects that carried personal weight, from later chapters of The Expendables to Creed. Yet behind the screen's indestructible warriors remained a man scarred by loss, one who quietly carried the memory of his son in every step. Time has shown him that true strength isn't just about enduring punches on screen, it's about surviving life's heaviest blows with grace. Sage's memory endures as both a wound and a guiding light, a reminder of love, loss, and the fragile nature of life itself. For Sylvester Stallone, the pain may never fade, but neither will the bond with the son he loved. Mike Tyson's greatest defeat didn't happen inside the boxing ring. It happened at home. In 2009, the former heavyweight champion of the world faced a tragedy that no opponent could ever deliver. His 4-year-old daughter, Exodus, was playing near a treadmill when a freak accident with a cord left her critically injured. Her older brother found her unresponsive and called for help, but despite the desperate efforts of doctors, Exodus didn't survive. For a man once feared as the baddest on the planet, this became the single most crushing blow of his life. One no championship belt, no victory, no legacy could ever prepare him for. Tyson admitted the loss shattered him to his core. The fighter who had built his reputation on ferocity and resilience suddenly found himself questioning faith, purpose, and the very meaning of life. In his own words, it was the darkest chapter of his existence, a wound no amount of time or toughness could heal. In the months that followed, Tyson withdrew from the spotlight. Instead of fighting opponents, he was fighting grief, an invisible battle waged with reflection, with family, and with the slow, painful process of healing. For a man who had endured chaos, controversy, and countless comebacks, this was a different kind of war. Not one of fists and fury, but of love, humility, and the fragile strength it takes to keep living after devastating loss. Though Tyson rarely speaks in detail about Exodus, her memory remains a constant presence in his life. Her passing softened him, transforming the once fearsome champion into a man who deeply values connection, family, and the fleeting moments we often take for granted. He has said many times that losing a child changes you forever. It reshapes your heart, your priorities, and the way you see the world. Today, Tyson is still a legend in boxing, but his story carries a deeper weight. It is not only about glory in the ring, it is about a father who endured unimaginable sorrow and emerged with a new understanding of compassion and humanity. The memory of Exodus guides him still, a reminder that even the strongest champions are not immune to life's most painful blows. His journey proves that true strength isn't just about how hard you can fight, it's about how deeply you can love and how bravely you rise after life has knocked you down. Prince's life was filled with brilliance, but hidden behind the dazzling lights was a sorrow too deep for words. In 1996, the music legend and his first wife, Maite Garcia, faced a heartbreak that the world knew little about. Their first child, Amir, entered the world with Pfeiffer syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that affected his skull and limbs. What should have been the happiest moment of their lives, the birth of a son, was instantly overshadowed by the crushing reality that his chances of survival were slim. Prince, a man fiercely protective of his private life, refused to accept the diagnosis. He clung to hope, praying for a miracle that never came. Just a few days after his birth, little Amir passed away. The grief was unbearable. It cast a long shadow over their home, their love, and the marriage they had once believed unshakable. By 2000, the weight of their loss proved too much to carry together, and Prince and Maite divorced. Prince never became a father again. Though he rarely spoke of it publicly, those close to him knew that the memory of Amir remained etched into his soul. He carried that silent grief until his own passing in 2016. Years later, Maite opened her heart in her memoir, revealing the private moments of hope and despair, the whispered prayers, and the quiet strength they tried to summon as parents. Through her words, the world glimpsed the man behind the legend, not just a musical genius, but a father broken by a loss he could never escape. To fans, Prince will forever be remembered as the revolutionary who redefined sound, style, and performance. But for those who know this hidden chapter of his life, his legacy is also marked by the quiet heartbreak of a man who once dreamed of raising a son, and who carried that unspoken memory in the deepest corners of his music. Lisa Marie Presley carried a burden no mother should ever face. a tragedy that shook the very core of the Presley legacy. In 2020, her world shattered when her only son, 27-year-old Benjamin Keough, took his own life. Benjamin, the grandson who bore an almost haunting resemblance to Elvis, had long battled the weight of depression and the crushing expectations of being born into an American dynasty. To Lisa Marie, he wasn't just her son, he was her beautiful angel, the center of her universe. His sudden death left her spirit broken. She confessed openly that her heart was completely shattered, and that life would never be the same. Benjamin's loss reached far beyond the Presley family. It reignited painful conversations about the hidden cost of fame and the silent battles so many fight behind closed doors. For Lisa Marie, the grief was overwhelming, but in the midst of it, she leaned on her 3 surviving children, clinging to them for strength and purpose. She turned her anguish into advocacy, speaking candidly about mental health, hoping her story might save someone else from the same fate. That devastating moment changed her outlook forever. Lisa Marie began to emphasize the importance of cherishing family, embracing vulnerability, and confronting emotional pain instead of hiding it. Though grief became her shadow, she sought to transform suffering into meaning, ensuring Benjamin's struggles would not be lost to silence. For fans and family alike, his death was a stark reminder of the human cost behind the Presley name. Yet Lisa Marie's resilience, her determination to keep his spirit alive, became a testament to the depth of her love. Through advocacy, remembrance, and the stories she continues to share, Benjamin's legacy endures not just in tragedy, but in hope. His brief, powerful life continues to inspire her fight for mental health awareness, reminding the world that even in the darkest sorrow, love remains the one light that refuses to fade. Anna Nicole Smith's life became the definition of a double tragedy. In 2006, the model and television star, known as much for her dazzling beauty as for her chaotic personal life, faced a heartbreak almost too heavy to bear. Just days after giving birth to her daughter, Danielyn, joy turned into devastation when her 20-year-old son, Daniel, suddenly died while visiting her in the hospital. Toxicology reports later revealed a lethal mix of prescription drugs, but no report could capture the depth of Anna Nicole's grief. Friends said she was shattered beyond repair, cradling her newborn in her arms while mourning the loss of the boy she had raised nearly alone. What should have been the happiest chapter of her life became a nightmare, magnifying the struggles she was already battling behind the glamour. Daniel's sudden death was more than a personal tragedy, it was a haunting reminder of how dangerous prescription drug misuse can be and how fragile even the most celebrated lives truly are. For Anna Nicole, the grief never lifted. Just months later, she too died from an accidental overdose, leaving behind a daughter who would grow up without her mother or brother. Together, their stories form a chilling double tragedy, one that shook their family, fans, and the media. But beyond the headlines, their lives serve as a cautionary tale about love, loss, and the hidden struggles fame cannot protect against. Today, Daniel is remembered not just as Anna Nicole's son, but as part of a legacy scarred by heartbreak yet underscored by resilience. Their story reminds us to cherish every moment with the people we love, to recognize the silent battles others may be fighting, and to never underestimate the importance of compassion, care, and mental health support. In honoring both Anna Nicole and Daniel, the world is left with a narrative that is as much about sorrow as it is about the fragile, fleeting beauty of life itself. Robert Plant's world came crashing down in 1977 when tragedy struck at the height of Led Zeppelin's fame. While touring the United States, the frontman received the unthinkable news: his 5-year-old son, Carrick, had died suddenly from a stomach virus. In an instant, the roar of stadium crowds meant nothing. Plant rushed home, shaken to his core, overwhelmed by a grief no stage or song could ever drown out. The loss left him questioning everything: fame, fortune, even the very meaning of music. For a time, he considered walking away entirely, unsure if he could ever perform again with such a heavy shadow over his heart. Carrick had been the light of his life, a joyful, radiant child whose presence filled their home with laughter. Without him, there was only silence, a void too deep to measure. Yet, with the steady support of his Led Zeppelin bandmates and close friends, Plant slowly found his way back to music. Out of that pain was born one of the band's most hauntingly beautiful ballads, All My Love, a tribute to his son, infused with raw sorrow and the tenderness of a father's eternal devotion. The song became more than just music, it was a window into Plant's private grief, resonating deeply with anyone who has ever faced an unbearable loss. Decades later, Plant admits that grief never truly fades. It evolves, changes shape, and walks alongside the love and memories that remain. Every time he takes the stage, Carrick is still with him, carried in every lyric, every note, every breath of his performance. Robert Plant's story is a powerful reminder that even legends are not spared from life's cruelties. His journey shows how unimaginable loss can break you, but it can also deepen your art, reshape your soul, and remind the world that even in tragedy, love endures. Through his music, Carrick's spirit still lives, echoing across generations, proof that the bond between father and son cannot be silenced, not even by death. Roy Orbison, a voice etched forever in sorrow. In 1968, the world nearly lost not just a legend, but a man whose voice defined an era. Roy Orbison, the haunting tenor behind timeless classics like Oh, Pretty Woman and Crying, was thousands of miles away on tour in England when tragedy struck. At his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee, a sudden fire erupted. Inside were his two young sons, Roy Jr. and Tony. Despite desperate rescue efforts, the blaze claimed their lives. The devastation was almost too much to bear. Just 2 years earlier, Orbison had lost his beloved wife, Claudette, in a horrific motorcycle accident. To lose his children so soon after the love of his life, it was grief few human hearts could endure. Friends remember him as a broken man, retreating from the spotlight, consumed by sorrow. For a time, it seemed the world might never again hear the voice that had once soared so effortlessly across radios and concert halls. But Roy Orbison's story wasn't one of silence, it was one of survival. Slowly, painfully, he returned to the stage. His music, once filled with longing, now carried the weight of unfathomable loss. Every note he sang was no longer just entertainment. It was confession, testimony, and catharsis. His voice became a vessel of both anguish and resilience, proving that even shattered hearts can create beauty. Through his songs, listeners didn't just hear pain, they felt hope. Orbison showed the world that music could transform grief into something transcendent, something that could touch and heal others. His life became a reminder that while loss leaves scars, it can also inspire compassion, art, and connection. Decades later, Roy Orbison's voice still echoes, haunting, beautiful, and eternal. Behind every lyric lies the story of a man who endured unimaginable tragedy, yet found a way to turn heartbreak into light. His legacy is proof that the human spirit, though fragile, is never truly defeated. Thank you for watching Exposed Hollywood. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss more untold stories of the stars. See you in the next one.